Does it look cool? Do you notice this? Well, actually, I'm recording now, just so you know. But I'm gonna introduce you. This is
Okay.
Butler. You're with
Yeah.
Amy Kaplan. This is my very first Zoom video thing, and you're my guinea pig. I'm very excited.
Thanks.
I'm glad
Thanks.
you're here. Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, I think other people on your end won't be as high tech. I got the mic, I got everything
Yeah,
else.
we got it all set up. But do
Yeah.
you notice I've got this whole background going, but do you see this? Can you see what I'm pointing at right there? Do you know what that is?
I see
That little
the Daniel Strauss picture.
No, the little one that my finger's right on it right there.
So small, I can't even figure it out.
Yeah, okay, so it's a picture from your wedding. It's me and you at your wedding.
Oh, that's nice.
So you
Yeah.
guys now know Ian and I have known each other for years. He was the very first fighter I ever interviewed in
Mhm,
2014, I
mhm.
think. No, 2015.
Yeah, I think so.
2015. And we lived together for a year. You've babysat my kid. Like we know each other very well. So I just want to get that out in the open there, you guys. Why I picked Ian to be my first interview here. And he's not Devin Butler. If you see that, that is his wife. So
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
and I was there when they met. Thank you very much.
Yes, yeah. And I'm still working out Zoom. I just too lazy to sign into my own account.
That's
So
okay. That's okay.
yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I want to talk first. Like you just had a fight right before all this stuff happened, right?
Yes.
So you didn't have a fight booked yet. So you're not like one of those that's kind of in limbo. Or I know you've kind of talked about anything, but you didn't have anything official.
So I mean, before that situation, my fight got changed like 5 times. I thought I was gonna fight in January,
Yeah.
um, with Dillon Danis, but that fell through.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that. So
Yeah,
since you brought it
and
up, let's talk about that. So you had been offered Dillon Danis. Like, talk to me first how it came about.
so one of the matchmakers at Bellator offered me the fight and like, hey, we're really trying to get you on this card in January. And I'm like, look, I'm in a situation that I'm on a big win streak right now, and I wanted to play my cards right so I can get a bigger contract, right? Or I'm gonna talk to some other people, even though I grew up in Bellator. And they're like, yeah, the only person we have is Dylan Danis. So I'm like, what? I'm like, well, I'll take that. And
Yeah.
they're like, sure, like, yeah, right. They're like, we thought you try to keep it like low key or something like that. I'm like, no, like if it's a big fight or a ring opponent, like I'll take that. Like I'll bet on myself. Like, So I took it and I definitely know I can beat that guy. So I said yes, and we're like, all right, we're gonna wait on a response for him and his team. And I'm like, okay. So I said yes, and then tweet went out like they were making fights with Ian Butler and Dylan Danis, thinking like, all right, it's definitely gonna happen because the story's out there, right? And everything else is out there. And then I even treated like I already said yes. So if the fight doesn't happen, I just want to know that everybody know that if it doesn't happen, it's on his end,
Right.
right? And obviously it didn't happen, and they selected somebody else. He selected somebody else that's not even ranked and haven't even fought in Bellator before. And
And then that guy got injured, so the fight didn't happen anyways, right? So
exactly.
timing worked out because you wouldn't have had a fight
Yeah,
either.
I know. And I would have been screwed anyway. And then I had a kid on the card anyway that I was cornering, and that would have been rough, trying to fight and trying to corner at the same time. I know some other people do it, but that's extremely difficult to do. Um, so it did all work out. And then I had a fight that I was going to fight for in February, at the end of February. And then that got canceled because the kid got hurt. And then I got another offer from Lights Out Promotion, which is on Fox Sports West. That's coming up. They had a couple guys that fought there that went to the UFC, and a couple guys that fought there went to Bellator also. So I'm like, all right, it's a good promotion to fight for. The kid that I was supposed to fight got hurt, and then I got a replace. And then they called it a replacement, and they're like, we totally got a replacement for you, but he's hurt too. So I'm like, well, great. And that fight's supposed to be March 13th, which is like a special day for me because I've been into like horror movies lately. And the late Kobe Bryant was talking about how he used to listen to the Friday the 13th theme music in his headphones over and over before he goes out and play basketball. And that's what I've been doing before my fights. And my last walkout shirt was the Jason Voorhees mask for Friday the 13th. And I'm like, oh, it'd be perfect because it's Friday the 13th. It's kind of like a little birthday for me. And that fight got canceled. Called my manager, and thankfully, Gladiator Challenge offered me a fight. And they're like, look, the only issue it's a week before. Do you want to take that? Or would you have problems making weight? I'm like, no, I'm ahead of schedule anyway. So thank God that happened because I had 13 family members fly out. Fight happened. I won. And then the week after, which would have been Friday the 13th, all those events in California all got canceled.
Yeah, so you came in right.
Yeah, at the right time.
Yeah, because I remember your fight was supposed to be that week because I was covering another fight card that ended up getting canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all the regional fights were canceled. And right now, just even today, PFL announced that they pushed their whole season back. They're going to pay their fighters a monthly stipend. UFC kind of hasn't announced what they're. Yeah, that just happened. I don't know if you read that. They're going to pay a monthly stipend until they can fight, which I think is awesome. But how do you, since you can't fight, you're not making money. How are you keeping sane right now? I know you can't even train.
I mean, I can train, which means, I just can't train with anybody else, right?
Right.
I see other people training, which is like crazy to me, but I don't know if I was single, and living with Dean Lister right now, I think it'd be super easy, right? Because I can just train with the people because we're all been quarantined together, right? In a house, and that'd be easy, right? But no, luckily, I had a good sponsor, a new one in Two Worlds in One Planet, a bike company that sent me. So I pretty much have like a Peloton in my house, right? And my gym is super supportive, and I got a rower in my house. I got kettlebell, stuff like that. So, and then I got legs, so I'm in running. So outside and social distancing, staying 6 feet away from people, right? It's weird. Every time I run, it's like an ambulance or a cop car when they put their sirens on, and you're in the middle of the road and everybody just veers over to the left and to the right. Yeah. That's how I feel like when I'm running. And people hear me behind me, they're like, oh God. And they just get 6 feet away from each other as far as possible, which is just hilarious and funny to me. But that's the only thing I really can do, right? I think I was maybe close to getting on the San Diego UFC card because I'm a free agent. And then talking to other managers, I told the UFC I'm ready if they want to do the island fights. I think I was even close to doing that one because it was supposed to be, the other secret location, they finally released it, was supposed to be up north, right, at Tachi Palace. I can drive there. That's not an issue, right? I told them I was ready. We were going to talk to them and said, I'm ready. Hopefully, because if that would have got approved, they said they were going to do like 2 more months of fights there. Super easy for me to do. So I've just been staying ready for that. And then I have a list of people that I contacted of like, hey, if I ever get a call for Island, I have my own gym. I have a key. I'll pay you to come train, but you need to let me know that you're just training with me and just going home, straight home, right? Or if you're in a house that nobody else is going out and working, right? Because there's other people still going to offices and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to touch those people whatsoever.
Right. So do you think it's okay that the UFC is trying to put on fights even though everybody else isn't? Or is it kind of conflicting because you want to work and you want to fight? So how do you feel about that? Especially you have a wife who's high risk. So
yeah, I know. So this is what they told me because they came to the conversation it'll be way more safer. They said it'd be way more safer than actually standing in line of a grocery store. So I haven't even been outside to a grocery store yet. I've been getting everything delivered. But at the that's the issue, right? At the grocery store, you just don't know who has what, right? And some people don't listen. Some people could have it and then affecting other people. You just don't know. I have a cousin that's in the ER, and she said the safest place, which is insane to me, is in a hospital that she works at. Because she goes well, we know who has it. They're in a separate room. We don't know, and we're sanitized, stuff like that, right? So the UFC also said you'll be tested throughout.
Hmm.
COVID-19, so you'd be tested before and you'd be tested after, right? And then they said they have a private island, right? So everybody on an island would be tested. So if everybody is tested and cleared, then what's the issue? Like, I don't think people are not going to practice social distancing while they're not on the island if everybody doesn't have anything.
Well, one of the things people have brought up is that testing. Like, there's a shortage of testing. People can't get tested who actually need it. So it's kind of like, I mean, I get it's good that they would say that they're being tested. That should be happening. But do we really need to be fighting right now? Like,
No,
it's not a need.
look, I get both ways, right? I get that, like, I mean, all the hashtags, we're in it together. We truly are, right? Um, and I know that's the shortest of testings. Even if I supposedly had some stuff like that, like, I wouldn't go to the hospital if I'm on my deathbed because I just know there's people way worse than me and other conditions way worse than me that need to get tested way before me because I'm younger and I'm an athlete too, right? Um, and I know there's a shortage of testing too, but at the same time, like, you're working at this time, which I think is probably like a blessed situation to be in. My wife is working at this time. I know other people working at this time. I know other people that are not and are probably struggling, right? And we live in the state of California where I believe a lot of people lived paycheck to paycheck, right? And they're probably not waitressing and waiting and stuff like that. I don't know the situation that they're going to be in. And at the same time that I need to make money too.
Right.
So, right?
It's hard. It's really
It's
hard.
hard. It's a hard, like, it's one of the situations that I'm gonna be like, hey, like, I know there's shortage of testing and stuff like that. Um, and it sucks, but at the same time, I need to make money too.
Mhm.
And I'm not delivering food or something like that, and I'm not working at the grocery stores. But at the same time, I'm probably providing a service to humanity because I know you guys are going to watch at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Right.
Exactly, you know.
It's a
So that's
different service, but yeah.
exactly, exactly. So that's the way I feel about it. So yeah,
So on a lighter note,
yeah,
you have trained with some huge names, RDA, Chris Cyborg, and Tony Ferguson. That's kind of
right,
how you and I, when we first became friends, we were all in that sort of gym situation together. So I'm
right.
curious your take on how he would do against Justin and how he would do against Khabib. Maybe give us a little bit of insight into his
Yeah,
training. I know it's a lot different now than back when we were in the gym together, but I'd love to hear your opinion.
right. Yeah, yeah. And then obviously, like, no matter what mental state Tony's in, good or bad, like, I'll always be a friend of Tony because I remember what happened back then, and he helped me out. And I'm gonna try not to be completely biased in this
Yeah.
situation.
Well,
Um,
I mean, you're gonna be because you've
I'm
trained
gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna be a
before.
little bit.
Yeah.
So I think Justin Gaethje might be a harder matchup than Khabib for sure. Because I mean, Khabib can wrestle too and the ground and pound and stuff like that. And then if you if he gets taken down by Khabib, Tony has elbows and they say he can get cut. But Khabib's pressure is a fucking different story. I can see her going either way with Khabib and Tony, right? I think Khabib's pressure on the feet is extremely dangerous. The way I think he can stop a takedown maybe in the middle. I think Connor did the best job of stopping the takedown too in the first couple rounds because he didn't take that much damage, right? Second and third, it kind of went downhill for Connor a little bit for sure. Um, with Tony, I think on the feet, he's a little more dangerous. He has a crazy long reach, which will come into play because he can, like, actually grab his hand and turn it over for elbows too and do damage on the feet too. His conditioning will be an issue and a problem for Khabib too. Uh, so it's a matter of inches with Khabib and Tony for sure. And then the Justin Gaethje fight, I totally had Tony until it got pushed back.
Yeah.
So because
No,
just
yeah. Justin has more time to train.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like because Justin feels the way that, like, how my career is going up, right? Like I was the one that took a 2 weeks notice fight for Glory, right? I'm proud I did it because I stepped into a round that's out of my comfort zone and I did it, right? Unfortunately, I got knocked the fuck out, right? Preparation or not, I just fought a skillful fighter. With the team I am now, there is no way in hell I'll probably take a 3-week fight or 4 weeks fight. Like I stay in shape pretty damn well throughout. But the preparation that I like to put on is completely different. And Justin's in the same realm. That's why he only takes like 8-week camps or 10 to 12-week camps, right, to get ready. And with him and Tony, I believe was on 2 weeks or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
two,
Yeah.
three, right?
Less.
Yeah, he said he was extremely nervous because he said that I have 3 rounds to try to put him out. And he said if I don't finish him in 3, he's going to finish me in 4 or 5, which is like extremely honest and I think extremely realistic too, because Tony's a cardio guy, like too. But now since he has more time to train,
Mhm.
uh, I can honestly still probably go in the same way. I think the vote doesn't change. I think Justin still needs to probably put him out in rounds 1 through 3 because Justin has a relentless pace of staying on you, staying on you, staying on you, but it still takes a lot of energy though too. And Tony's a bull too. He likes to fight you head on too, also. And then I don't know. It's the will. It's about will at that point who will break, and both of the guys won't break. It's just gonna make for a good ass fight. So yeah.
So, speaking of all these people you've trained with, who would you say like did you learn the most from, or was like the toughest to train with?
Mm, I learned from everybody. Um, Tony was more of Tony was more of a mindset than actual like skill,
Mhm.
right? Um, it's just because Tony, we just train basic stuff, but we train for hours upon hours, and we'll train for like 2 hours, and then he'll go like, "All right, we're done," and I'm thinking we're done. So mentally, I'm thinking we're done. I'm just gonna pack up, go home. And then he goes like, "All right, like hop in the car. We're gonna go on this run." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? Like you said, we're done." And this run was a hard ass run. His mentality and will to like not stop. And then he used to message me of like, he's like, "Hey, don't forget your run." And then I'm like, "Don't forget to run tonight." And then I'm like, "Okay, I ran tonight, thinking I'm done. I'm coming home, I'm sleeping." And then he'll message me. I see a message at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'll like, it's like him running and then him like puking on the ground. He's like, "This is what I'm doing at 3 o'clock in the morning." I'm fucking dead sleep. There's no fucking way that I'm doing it. So I think his mentality, it's crazy, but it also what makes him great too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember from Tony, like I said, the three of us trained at the same gym. I obviously wasn't doing the same thing as you guys were doing, but I would be training at the same time, doing my own thing. And I would remember he would come over, like I'd be doing sit-ups or something, and I was like 100 pounds heavier than I am now. And he would just lean over me and just go, 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 go. And he was just so motivating and like scary. But
Yeah.
you're right, it was mental. Like he always, even back then, there was something different, and it was mental. It was all his mind game and his
Yeah.
mental push.
It's crazy. Like I have different people around me now, and I think I changed as a fighter now because I got older, right? But it's funny how like all the thought processes of when I hired a mental coach and I'm like pushing myself deeper and going to these dark places and like growing from this, it all comes full circle. And I now understand what Tony was talking about in these moments of what I'm doing now, opposed to what I was doing back then. Because back then I was just a fucking kid. I just thought like he's fucking insane, stuff like that. And then he'll talk to me about like it's important to do active rest. I'm like, well, we just trained for fucking 6 hours. Like I didn't really understand the concept until I actually got older and wiser of what he was talking about and talking to my strength conditioning coach now of like, yeah, and I think he pushed me to the brink and I became the fighter I am now. But like it's just a light bulb clicked. I'm
Mhm.
like, fuck, like this is what Tony was fucking talking about this. And like he's like, "Hey, make sure you have an active rest day." I'm like, well, goddamn, this is what Tony was talking about. Like, yeah. So and he is very unique in his training too. Like he'll do cartwheels and all kinds of stuff. Um, I honestly think because I honestly think it's funny how he does all this stuff because my strength conditioning coach does like animal exercises to like warm up and do some stuff. And I'm like, damn, this is just like Tony, just like, and I also think he wants to break up the monopoly because some shit just gets boring
Mhm.
a lot too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Tony, I will say, well, I learned from a lot, but Tony mentally has been great to be around with. And then RDA has been great too. Just it's kind of funny, like they're kind of similar but different, right? As far as the work effort RDA's been in, and actually, I think I trained more physically hand on more with RDA than I actually did with Tony,
Mhm.
right? Because me and Tony was training side by side, right? But me actually grappling with RDA and sparring RDA, like I did on a regular basis, and just I I think I understand what now you need to put in to become a champion because they're just relentless and just work effort of just like work, grind, and then just trying to perfect things a lot and being there with Chris Cyborg, it's the same thing. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. I think I understand why they all held titles,
Right.
honestly, right? And then I've been in there with I'm not gonna say name. I ain't gonna say like mediocre fighters. At the same time. Like I'll put it this way.
Unknown. We'll call
I
them
will put it.
unknown.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. I've been with other fighters that fought in Bellator and the UFC. That have been in Bellator and the UFC for a very long time, and I can see the difference of why they're not champions or not. And I can actually see and point out the difference of if somebody's going to be great or not because I see similar work efforts, right? Of going from this to that. And to be completely honest, like I wasn't even there in the beginning, right? I seen a lot of flaws in my game and I had to just like and it helped me mentally by getting a mental code because I had to check myself and just look in the mirror and just be like, where do you want to go? Like, what do you want to do? Do you just be a guy that's in Bellator and just be like that? Or do you actually want to title change? Like you have a small window right now to do it, And I think being in there with those guys was really good. And then I also came up with the concept of why not me? Like you train with all those guys and won rounds with all those guys, like why not me? So I think my mental thing has definitely changed. I got mentally stronger about being in those with those world champions too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And now you're on a 4-fight win streak, all finishes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, including your the last, well, not the last fight, but your last fight in Bellator was also a win. That was really exciting.
It
And
was.
it was a particularly meaningful win for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, talking about getting over a hump. Like it was very surreal because it was like my first Bellator win in like I think 6 tries,
Hmm.
possibly, right? Yeah. All my Bellator, I think I have one loss outside of Bellator, besides kickboxing. Yeah, that was really, 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 really special. Um, it's funny, like I bought all these frames for my house, and I have all the Bellator posters like in my hallway, and I was just like, man, I've been on all these cards with all these legends, and at
Really
one
big
point,
cards too.
yeah,
They always put you on huge cards.
I know they put me on like some of the biggest cards ever, and the one I actually won, I have downstairs with actually my hands wrapped, with the hands wrapped in it,
Hmm.
right? And then yeah, I that one was extremely special too, and it was extremely special too because it was the team that it's the team that I kind of built
Yeah.
around me that helped me got that win streak that what we're going on with this crazy journey now, right? Because I don't even like looking on the past of all my belly, like I don't think I was so close with some of them, right? Some I got scored, some I got knocked out in 10 seconds,
But you
you know,
also were put up against like big names. You were
huge
you were
names, right?
you were put in like you were just coming into Bellator and you were being put in against guys that Bellator was building.
No,
For
for sure. For sure. And back then I was a kid too. Like and my job is to fight. So I'm gonna fight, right? And also I will say I didn't have some of the right people around me for
hmm.
sure. I think I was I was actually like kind of like chasing names in a way, right? So like it was like oh, I have Jason Pearl in my corner, right? And me and Jason have a great relationship, right? Um, but I knew like he trained BJ was like one of my favorite fighters of all time, right? And he's in my life now, and he's such a good mentor to have. But and he helped me with some skills that definitely helped for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but then looking back on it, I think probably Trillo's up there, best boxing coach. I think the one I vibed with the most was probably Juan I had in San Diego.
Hmm.
Um, and I even had Dean Lister, but it's actually the coaches I have now. Like I did the unpopular thing of leaving Ruka, right? And it's something that Tyson Fury said because like he changed and fired like one of the most famous boxing coaches ever, right? And they're like, why'd you pick this coach that's like nobody even knows who the hell he is, right? And I did the same thing. So I left Ruka, who was like a popular fucking brand, right? And it looks pretty when you walk in, right? I've been dreaming of training there since I was a kid. So I left that. I had a mental coach that I just hired on my last Bellator loss at 170. Um, that's the first fight I lost by decision, right? The guy was just fucking bigger than me, right? And he outskilled me in some stuff, right? I wasn't the fighter I was today. And I sat down and talked to him. I had to make changes, right? So I fired my strength conditioning coach, which was John Walker at the time. And then I left Ruka. And then I had Jake Shaw, who's
Hmm.
my strength conditioning coach now. And a lot of people can actually see the photos. Like I have physically changed
Yeah.
ever since then. like that, like I actually have like it's crazy. Like I had everybody I think have some kind of abs when at weigh-ins because they're cutting weight, but like I was just way more shredded and a lot more like like it's crazy. And he brought my game to a different level. I hired another coach named Ian, obviously same name as me. So um, that just invested me. And it's what Tyson Fury said. They're like, why'd you make that change? And he goes, because they believe in me.
Hmm.
And I believe at Ruka, I I was training with great people. I was more of a sparring partner instead of the person getting focused on,
Yeah,
right?
and I think that a lot of fighters, I've seen that in gyms where these fighters would go in and they want to train with the best, which is great, and you would obviously learn something from it. But there's a point where you need someone to focus on you, and if you're always just a little bit less important than
Right.
the bigger names, which
Yeah.
sense you're not going to get as much attention
No, for
at
sure.
all.
And don't get me wrong, I will always like Pro is very smart in the game, right? And like doing that and he's very good at proven boxing, but at the same time, like when you have RDA and Chris Cyborg at the gym, like he needs to pay bills too. They're making a bit way bigger purse money than I am, right? So Jake was like one of the first professional of like one of the first big pros on like a bigger scene that he invested time in. And he put everything in, like he changed his time schedule. Like, Ian, this is what you're gonna be. You're gonna come in on these days, and we're gonna have somebody else train with you to kind of push you too. It was some of the hardest training sessions I ever had in my fucking life. And then Ian was there just like, hey, I just never had a coach do this before. He came, he's like, hey, so I watched your past 5 fights. Like, this is what you're doing wrong. And this is what we can improve on. Hey, let's watch film on Khabib because you got a similar style. Then Khabib, let's try to draw this out. So this is what you're doing wrong. And then they brought people in for me. So it was like, I'm the champion at that time and everybody else was a training partner. Let's focus on you to get you better. And then I had my mental coach come in the picture and talking to all of them, like, how do you feel like in training? Let's write this down. Like, did you have a bad day? That's pretty good because it's going to shut the doors. And and it started this epic. So my first fight, I put somebody to sleep and then I knocked somebody out. And then comes Bellator, right? And then I was like, against a really good guy too, right? And they're like, well, this is what we've been waiting for. Like, dude, you're on a 2-fight win streak. What is it be worried about? Like, this is what we're going to do. And it was, and I thought the other training sessions were fucking bad. This one was probably the worst fucking camp, meaning good.
Hmm.
Uh, I ever got pushed ever. And and I remember like that night I was in the hotel room and it was before the fight and I just got weighed in and I was like crying just because of like I remember my last strength conditioning session that week and Jake called me and he goes like, dude, I just want to let you know, like you're not fighting to next week, but I'm so fucking proud of you. Like, he goes, there's some stuff that like you could even do before and you were doing. You could even last on the road and now you're beating Nick on time. And he went to the fucking CrossFit games for crying out loud, you know? He's just like, dude, you're gonna do amazing. Like, no matter what, you're gonna do fucking amazing. Like, you're so ready for this, you know? And that's the only thing like I heard. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you got this. It was like, you're so ready for this. You're so ready for this. Like, I felt completely different. Mental coach was there. We're talking way before, and then it happened in the fight. Like, and it was like one of the greatest fights I ever fucking had, right? And I finally got over that hump. But and I think that win certifies like the people I finally have a right around me is just like I completely changed it to a different fighter, different person too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And now I'm on this win streak and I'm actually finishing people on a higher scale. And it's funny, after that fight, like one FC messaged me and stuff like that. And then I took another fight and got there. And then I think now a lot of lights on me now, right? About a lot of things. But I'm just excited for like the little team that we build because we're a little happy family. And I can't wait to get pushed. And I finally understand what Tony talks about like going to those dark places and being a better person and pushing. So, and super young. So that's what I'm extremely excited for.
Well, I remember that fight because I wanted so desperately, obviously, to be there and see you win because I've been at I think almost all of your fights. The
Yeah.
last few I haven't been able to, but I was there for that one. But it happened after it was post lim, and so they
Yeah.
had the whole post fight press conference set up, and so I was in the back media room, and they had TVs, but they had this backdrop, and so I could only see one half of the TV. So I was standing at this weird angle, like in front of everybody, too, standing up, waiting for the
Yeah.
fighters to come in, and there was no sound, and so I'm just going, oh, and then I would pace back and forth, and I go, I can't watch, you know, it's something good would happen, and I turn back around, and finally, it was just really cool because everybody in the media room was like feeling it because I was explaining to them, you know, how important this win was for you,
Yeah.
and Bellator PR, the ones who put us together the first time, like 5 years ago, they were watching, they knew like we'd been friends for this long. And so it was for them, it was really exciting too, because they
Yeah.
really wanted to see you win. So it was just a really cool moment backstage.
I think that's another reason why too. And before I went to bed that night, I ran into is it JD the PR guy JT
CJ?
CJ CJ uh, yeah
Yeah.
man, he's always been amazing. And I remember he just like it was just personal, like the way that he was just like, hey, I think we got this time. And
Yeah.
he was like, I think your first word's coming tomorrow night. I can't
Said
wait to.
that to me too. He said that to me
And
too.
and I took a deep breath. I'm like, oh, like like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed now, and that's Bellator staff, and just to see
Mhm.
Scott Coker come over and give me like the biggest hug ever because like that's the thing though, like Bellator matching up with some tough ass people,
Mhm.
but
Because they believed in you. You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like they
That's
didn't put you in to throw you down. You know, they put you
yeah,
in because they believed in you, wanted to test you, and
for
that's why
sure.
they kept giving you fights. You know, they
Yeah,
kept bringing you in. They kept wanting you around.
yeah, I know. And the Dave and Buster's president,
Mhm.
the message, he was so happy, and he goes like, dude, Scott Coker was probably the most happy I ever seen him. And he goes like, why? He goes like, dude, you got your first win of the Bellator. You're on this win streak. He goes like, he was waiting for that moment. He goes like, dude, Scott Coker doesn't like a lot of guys personally, but like, I mean, he's a nice guy and an easy guy to talk to, but he really likes you, Ian. And he's like, you have the look. He goes, you have everything else that you wanted. He just needed you to get a win.
Yeah.
Like, and he goes, and that was it. That was it, man. Like, and he goes like, things are gonna be uphill from here, and just to see the whole staff just like super excited for me. And then back at the hotel, you were there. Like I pretty much ate like 2 boxes of pizza. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
And-
remember I told you you wanted me to come to the after party, and I said I couldn't come. I said no,
yeah.
I can't come. I can't come, and then I showed up because I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah. And just see like me around and just having the staff come over and just give me the biggest hugs ever, because like it was before I moved out here, like when I first got signed, it was when Bjorn Revenue owned it. And then they made all these changes, and then they put me on the main event prelim of the biggest card they ever had, the first time ever, the staff together.
Hmm.
So that scene, that's a lot, man. That's a lot of fucking pressure. And I probably wasn't ready for it at the time, but I'm also thankful for the situation that they
Yeah.
gave me to. And I'm so glad that they actually technically don't have dark cards anymore because everything is
Yeah, now they're
recorded.
on Bellator.com. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because everybody I got flooded with messages. That's probably the most memorable moment ever because the way I feel right now, I feel like I'm unstoppable. And all my fights have been at 165, and I'm the top 165er in the world right now because I have the most fights at 165, and I haven't lost yet.
Mhm.
You know, and I don't know if they're gonna make that a division or not. If I go to the UFC, I'm probably have to go down to 55. But I feel like I'm unstoppable now, and I think that's one of the biggest moments I had so far in my career that made a statement of like I'm here to the rest of the world, right? Because the other promotions were smaller promotions, right? But against a really good guy that from a very good camp too,
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think the cool part too, Joey Davis, which is a teammate of the guy I fought, was just like, dude. He goes like, yeah, that's what I kind of was worried about when I fought you, but obviously I got away with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got one back from like a loss from a team that I had too. So there was a lot of things that were great. So yeah.
So my last question, you've got the world at your fingertips right now. Who do you want to fight next? Bellator, UFC, who? Give us a name. Don't say anyone. I'm not going to let you off that easy.
Don't say what.
Don't say just anyone. I'll take anybody. No, give us a name.
If I fight in Bellator, I want Dillon Danis for sure. I don't want him to come away that easy, just because I really can't stand him as a person, to be honest. I man, there's a lot of people that I've met in this sport that I think I've been around some of the best trash. I've been around Michael Bisping, for crying out loud, right? He did it right, right? But also too, I just never really met. I kind of go back to my old ways of where I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Like I haven't really met anybody that talks shit and kind of does it behind your back, but in public at the same time. Like it's weird, right? Because first of all, like I think I killed him in the meme game. So I was up. Like I made a lot of posts about him and tagged him in it. And I started to notice that like he called Tyron Woodley like a bitch, right? And then he called out like Saquon Barkley from like the Giants. Like it blows my mind that you try to pick fights with people that are not in the same organization as you. There's no way you're gonna fight them. You try to pick a fight with somebody that's not even in the same sport. Crying out loud. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, and then you have somebody that called you out, like, and actually tagged you because he doesn't tag anybody,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I say he's kind of talking about people behind their back because he's like, oh, he's a bitch, and he does it for like clout for all the millennials out there, right? Like, and so he's kind of doing it behind your back, but everything I did was direct and straight on. Like, I tagged you, like, I'm want to let you know, like, I'm ready for you, right? You say that you're the best grappler in the world, which is false because Gordon Ryan is because he beat you. So, and you say that like you're the top Bellator 170 fighter, like that's not my division, obviously. I said 165, but I will move up to test you there. So what's the problem? Just sign the contract, right? Like it's pretty fucking easy. So he's not gonna get away that easy if I come back to Bellator though, you
Right.
know. And then in the UFC, I'm not in a situation to call it anybody.
Yeah.
I just need to
I
get
will
my
accept
foot.
that. Sorry.
Yeah, I just need to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
Honestly, UFC might be a situation if they call me short notice. I'll fight at 170 just to get my foot in the door, and then I'll drop down to 55. Obviously at 55, like I mean, I want to be the best, so obviously it's Khabib, right? Like I like to grapple, I like to wrestle. I like to test that on for sure. But UFC is anybody right now until I get a couple wins and I start making top 15. Then I start calling out people.
Awesome. And then can you let everybody know where to find you on social media?
Yeah. Ian Butler MMA. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian.
No problem.
I'll bring some cookies later.
Ah, oh, phenomenal. Yeah.